Are you looking to stay calm in the midst of chaos of becoming more valuable in the marketplace post-military, while anxiety, pain, and sleep and stress try to hold you back? Well, today's guest has a simple philosophy: get naked. Want to know more? Stay tuned as 26-year retired Navy SEAL and founder of Naked Warrior Recovery drops golden grenade nukes ambitious vet to blow you to new levels of leadership and execution in your everyday life.
I think really the most important lesson that I learned is to ask for help. You know, being in any organization that's kind of alpha male dominant, I guess, you don't ever want to look weak, or you don't ever, that's what you feel like. You don't ever want to feel weak. You don't ever want to feel like you don't know what the answer is or anything like that. And
are you out of the military and feeling lost, confused, or simply unfulfilled where you are in life? Maybe you're like me and realize resume writing, interview prep, and job fair education has shelf life to your post-military goals and aspirations. It's literally a band-aid to a deeper problem of figuring who you are, out who you really are, right? What you want and how to execute on it so you can feel like you're making the impact you were while serving. Am I right? Well, look, I get it. I've been there, 5 careers in 5 different industries, and the cherry on top is I had 2 failed suicide attempts in 2013, only a year after I transitioned out of the United States Marine Corps. You guys that are just getting to know me or subscribe to this podcast, we've written a best-selling book. This podcast is an award-winning podcast from Podcast Magazine, and I am the founder of the Ambitious Vet Network. We provide a few ambitious veterans, maybe you that's listening to this, that doesn't settle after uniform, a platform, content, and programs to grow and advance in life together after career stability isn't a problem anymore, right? So let's look at the real pain, the problem that you're probably dealing with right now, right? You're probably aspiring to be more than where you are in life right now. And I know it's having you feel nervous, anxious, and angry on why it isn't as easy as it was while serving. Am I right? Things like career fulfillment, happiness, better relationships, effective communication, increased salary is just a few things that a lot of ambitious vets deal with while becoming more valuable in the marketplace, right? I feel your pain. It's not your fault, though. And you have been fire hosed with healthcare, benefits, and career readiness education since you first decided to take that big leap of faith and get out of the military. The question is, has it provided you with the sense of purpose, confidence in your execution, and effectiveness in communicating with everyday people that matter most in your life currently? You see, Ambitious Vet, since 2017, I've created over 5,000 plus hours of on-demand personal and professional development content that over 100,000 plus veterans have consumed that are just like you, desiring more out of life every day. And we've been featured on, top publications like Stars and Stripes, CBS Eye on Veterans, San Diego Business Journal, and this podcast has been featured as a top 10 veteran-hosted podcast. Woohoo, great. Again, before all these achievements, I was a lost, ambitious vet, just like you, living on a wrestling mat inside of an apartment I couldn't afford in San Diego, paranoid that everyone else knew the secret to finding fulfilling success in life other than me. But after I began to actually start investing into myself, taking courses, reading books, and listening to podcasts, things began to flip for me, and it became easier, more predictable, and I started creating desired results that had me feel fulfilled in life post-military. I guess you could say I became the commander-in-chief of my life. And after spending over 100,000 plus, on my own self-education, I hope that is true. And I've learned from some of the top success teachers in the world in all of my 20s. Now I'm about to turn 33 next month. However, I don't want you to invest over 100,000 plus to learn how to make the impact you desire most post-military. That's why I package all my learned lessons, tools, and knowledge I've gained to offer you for only $4.95. Yes, that's it. What comes with this $5? Well, you're getting my best-selling ebook, 5x5 goal-setting worksheet, the Ambitious Vet Field Guide, the sniper-focused keynote that I gave to over 1 million digital users for a Get Resilient Summit, I believe in 2018, and lifetime access to our Ambitious Vet Network Facebook group. That total value is over $1,300. You're getting it for only round up $5. So if you're listening to this and you're just like, yes, I'm ready to go ahead and click the link in the show notes below. Or if you're listening right now, go to 10stepstosuccessbook.com. That's success, 10 steps to successbook.com. I won't spell it out because I'm a Marine, but I'll have the link in the show notes below. But I don't know how long we're going to be able to have this offer this low. We're in the process of launching a new product, and just know that this price point for this amount of value may not necessarily be there forever. So if you're listening to this, go to 10stepstosuccessbook.com and get your bonuses, get the value that's going to help you become more after the uniform. We'll see you on the other side.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vet? We're right back inside the trenches today with William Branum. William is founder and CEO of Naked Warrior Recovery, a CBD company focused on the recovery of veterans and first responders. He is a retired Navy SEAL with 26 years of service. Now, after retiring from the military in 2018, he realized that he was suffering from physical and psychological symptoms that negatively impacted his well-being and quality of life. Migraines, severe anxiety, chronic pains, difficulty focusing, difficulty just sleeping and falling asleep, and depression are some of the symptoms that he struggled with on a daily basis. And Ambitious Vet, I think all of us can identify with that. Wouldn't you agree? He used alcohol, prescription drugs to mask the symptoms he had, but then he had his aha moment. He discovered the CBD world, right? And it changed his life literally. And it had such an impact on him that he went out and started his new company called Naked Warrior Recovery to bring the highest quality of products to the market and teach the Get Naked mindset. William, are you there?
I'm here. Stoked to be here.
Brother, it's an honor to have you. I was talking to my wife right before we, dove into this episode, and I was just like, everyone that comes on the show needs to be as generous as William and Get Naked CBD stuff. I mean, you sent us all kinds of product ahead of time. And I got to tell you, those gummies to the tincture, all of that gives me a lot of peace of mind as I'm working from home with my pregnant wife. So I appreciate that, brother. And
you're welcome.
Just really quality products. And just thanks for the 26 years of experience and not stopping to serve once you got out of the SEAL teams, man. Really remarkable stuff. Thanks for your service.
Yeah, thank you, for sure.
So let's go ahead and just dive into your background, man. I mean, I want to dive into first your background, and then we can kind of shift into some leadership learned lessons that you acquired over 26 years of being on the teams, a Navy SEAL sniper instructor and stuff of that matter. But let's dive into your background just a little bit to start off.
So let's see, I'm originally from Meridian, Mississippi. And there's not a whole lot here in Mississippi. I'm actually here on my way to Meridian for a visit right now, and I had to pull over at a Starbucks to make this podcast interview. But so I started off in the Boy Scouts. I always knew I wanted to be some sort of a commando of sorts. I didn't really know what. I also wanted to be a ninja, and I'm still working on the ninja part. But so I was in the Boy Scouts, and I was thinking like maybe I'll be an Army Ranger or a Green Beret, because I knew what those guys were, because John Wayne was a Green Beret in Vietnam, or at least in the movies he was. Chuck Norris, I think, was an Army Ranger when he was in Delta Force, shooting rockets off of dirt bikes. I don't know if you're old enough to know what that movie is, but and then there was Rambo, and he was something. I think he was maybe a Ranger. So those were like the people I looked up to,
like inspirations.
As far as like what I want to do and what I want to be. And of course I watched a lot of Kung Fu theater as a kid as well. But somewhere along the way in my Boy Scout journey to become an Eagle Scout, someone was talking about becoming a Navy SEAL, and also they wanted to fly F-14 Tomcats, and I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. What's a Navy SEAL? So he told me they're commandos, and they jump out of airplanes, and they shoot guns, and they blow stuff up, and they scuba dive. And I was like, sign me up. He was like, it's the hardest thing out there. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So between my 11th and 12th grade of school, of high school, the Navy recruiter called and said, hey, have you ever thought about joining the Navy? And originally, had I not heard about Navy SEALs, I would have said no, because Meridian is a Navy town, and you have all these young kids who are going through, their post just out of boot camp, and they're going through their like A school, their technical school. And most of them act like idiots. And I'm sure when I was one of those exact same kids, I acted like an idiot, just like they did. And I was like, there's no way I'll join the Navy. Plus their uniforms are ugly. They have the worst uniforms on the planet, dungarees. It's improved a little bit right by now. Marines, they slay dragons, and they have a badass uniform. So I was kind of like, I don't really want to be a Marine, I don't think, but I didn't really know. Maybe if they were the best, then I would have become if I'd have heard about Marine Recon, I probably would have joined the Marines. But I just didn't know, because there were no books, there were no movies, there was nothing like that. Navy SEALs eventually came out, but I think Marines were probably the coolest, for sure looking. And like I said, they slayed dragons in the commercials. So
that's funny. That's funny. That's funny. So, I love your inspirations, because I wasn't, I'm about to turn 33 next month, actually in July. So I wasn't around in the Duke days. I was raised watching Walker, Texas Ranger with Chuck Norris and stuff like that. But my grandfather, man, same way, just every decision was what would John Wayne do? So right. That was its inspiration.
It's hard to go wrong there.
Because he was the Duke, man. He always made shit happen. So that's awesome to hear, like, what inspired you to kind of step into a Navy SEAL role. And man, I remember when I was in Afghanistan, in southern Afghanistan, I always saw the Navy SEALs come inside of our fob. It was always just like, okay, man, let's make sure those guys are taken care of, because you guys were the ones executing, hooking and jabbing, doing the difficult shit that us Marines, we just run through walls, right? We don't do it educated. The Navy SEALs, man, you guys kind of do it strategically.
We are lucky that way. We are lucky that way. And I was actually talking to my Green Beret buddy who has this thing that I was telling you about earlier, and I told him like how we train. Like, we have like a 24-month cycle. So we start off with like professional development for 6 months. You go to school, sniper school, jump school, free fall school, breacher school, and then you come back and you work as a team for 6 months, like from basic to advanced. And then you have 6 months of very specific training, depending on where you're going to deploy and what you're going to do. And it's a 6-month deployment. And he was like, what? You can get all of that? And I was like, yeah, that's why we are able to operate and do the things that we're able to do as efficiently, because we like work together for, a solid year of like, just like, either, very, very specific training, or just like iteration training, and then like pushing it to the next level, and then pushing it to the next level. And then we deploy, and then we take, the foundation that we built in our unit level training, and then we employ that to whatever the battlefield offers us. So we're lucky in that way. I mean, we get to shoot a lot of bullets, we get to blow a lot of stuff up, we get to be put into very unknown situations. We like we call them cold hits, where you don't there will be an abandoned place out in town, and the training cadre has already worked everything out with the local police department or whatever, and we'll go hit like some building, and then there's there's an opposing force with paint guns shooting back at us to simulate like real world. So we have to like deal with all of that stuff. So we're very lucky in that we get the level of training that we do get.
No, that's great. It sounds like it becomes muscle memory in the midst of chaos. So like
it does. I mean, we become so familiar with one another. Like, I know what you look like in, at nighttime under nods, 3 blocks away. I know that's you by the way you walk and things like that. And to kind of like put that into perspective, I was on one deployment, it was in like a leadership position. I was in operations. So I wasn't in a platoon or in a task unit, but I still wanted to go out and operate. And so I would, talk to the leadership there of the platoon. And I'm like, hey, can I get on this mission? And they're like, yeah, sure. Get in this truck and go do this and whatever. And we figure it out when we get on target. And then one of the guys like walks up to me on one target in Baghdad, and he's like, who the hell are you? and he's like, oh, okay, now I know who you are. But because I hadn't done a workup with them, I was doing all this staff stuff. They were like, who is that guy? And so I eventually, I went out with them a bunch more. And so I became more part of the team. But when you're not, doing that workup, you're not one of the guys.
Absolutely. Because they see you as like doing logistics, not in the, doing the trial and tribulation stuff. You know what I mean?
Right,
like the
exactly,
stuff that's earning the stripes. Right.
Exactly.
But you are earning the different kind of stripes. But so 26 years as a Navy SEAL, right? I mean, incredible stuff, man. I mean, for you to do that for that many years, I can only imagine how fast you can execute and how deliberate you are in that. But I want to kind of dive into like one key leadership learned lesson that you've learned over 26 years of being a Navy SEAL, right? And how have you repurposed that in your everyday life, growing a business, as you were saying, managing a family birthday, and still managing peace of mind in the midst of chaos, brother? Please educate us.
I think really the most important lesson that I learned is to ask for help. Being in any organization that's kind of alpha male dominant, I guess, you don't ever want to look weak, or that's what you feel like. You don't ever want to feel weak. You don't ever want to feel like you don't know what the answer is or anything like that. And when I was put into leadership positions, you're in the military, you're put into leadership positions based off of what they believe you're capable of doing. Not, and rank is part of that, but you're advanced because of what they believe that you're able to do in your life. And oftentimes we're put into these leadership positions where we don't have the answer. And once I became brave enough to ask for help, or even like rely on my junior guys and say, hey, how do you do this? I have no clue. Once I became humble enough and brave enough to be humble enough to say, hey, you know what? I know that I'm in charge, but I don't actually know how to do this. Can you show me? The amount of respect that I got from that was tremendous. In that they were like, oh, you're human and you're brave enough to ask me. Like it totally like inflated made them feel good about what they can do. And it also, made me like human, I guess, to them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think that was probably the biggest thing, like me being brave enough to ask for help. Because, we're all like, leaders are of service. We're supposed to be serving the guys. Leadership is not about like telling people what to do. It's about creating new leaders. And to, as hopefully I provided some really good lessons to the guys that worked for me on how to become leaders themselves. And really, and I think, for me, and most people don't do it, and I didn't learn it until I was like pretty deep into my leadership career, that I became brave enough to ask for help or ask, the junior guy or the whatever. Hey, what do you guys think about this?
Yeah.
Those were things that I wasn't brave enough. I was afraid that I was going to look weak. If someone said, hey, can you figure that out? I would try to fake it till I made it. And I was successful, but I could have been like 10 times more successful if I'd have just asked for help.
Yeah. Do you think
so much now that I go out and I actually pay for mentors, I pay for coaching to learn how to do stuff, because
that's awesome.
That's like the military didn't teach me how to be a businessman. They didn't teach me how to like build a business, run a business. They didn't teach me any of that. I'm having to learn that. And why don't I just go pay someone to time collapse and make that learning process better? And so that, again, that's probably the biggest leadership lesson that I've learned, is you don't know everything. Ask for help.
That's great. That's a really good takeaway. Brave enough to be humble. That's like a key golden grenade right there, Ambitious Fest. So definitely write that down and figure out a way to apply that in your life tomorrow or this evening, whenever you want to do that. But that's just, I love that because, I think there's a fear there that we feel like we're going to lose if we're vulnerable or if we ask for help. Like the people we're asking help from, may potentially be promoted faster than us if it's in an organization, or if it's in the uniform, it may have us looking competent in our current leadership role, right? That's such a good point, because I think when you're able to, kind of like shift focus and focus on like someone that's lesser ranked to kind of figure out, hey, what do you think on this current strategic objective? Things can kind of, everyone can be more collaborative versus just, hey, wait, I'm waiting for you to tell me what to do type stuff, right? Because that's more positional type leadership. So that's great.
It's empowering also.
Yeah.
So when you ask for help, like now that person is empowered.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful circle that happens when and then now you really become a team because you're codependent on one another.
That's so cool. Yeah. Thanks for giving us that learned lesson. That's definitely some great wisdom from a 26-year Navy SEAL guy there. So one thing that we're talking about in our pre-interview is the difference between 210 degrees and 212 degrees as far as performance, right? And I'm really curious on the context of just getting our shit done in everyday life and our new missions in life post-military. What's your philosophy behind going from 210 degrees to 212, and why is that important?
So I like the analogy of 210 and 212, because you know what you can do with 210 degree water? You can make tea. And what do you do with tea? You sip it. You know what you do with 212 degree water? You make steam. And you know what you can do with steam? You can create energy. You can run power plants. You can run a locomotive. You can be extremely powerful and productive and do more stuff. And the difference between 210 and 212 degrees is only 2 degrees of effort. And so I was thinking about this earlier. Even nuclear power plants, do you know what they do? They create steam. So the most powerful force in the world is steam, because it's that 212, that's just 2 degrees more. So when you're able to apply 1 or 2% more effort in anything that you're doing, there's talk about like when you're at 40% or when you're at 50%, you have more percent, you got this much more. Just do 1 or 2% more, and you're going to outperform everyone else. You're going to create steam. You're going to create power. You're going to create energy. You're not going to create tea for sipping.
Wow. No, that's great. I love that, because I'm thinking in my everyday life, sometimes I make tea before this podcast, to kind of clear up the throat. But I mean, I'm thinking like, man, if I boil that shit, maybe I can really spit some fire into the mic. You know what I mean? That's good stuff.
I think it doesn't make quite as good a tea.
I bet.
Burn your tongue, but yeah.
That's good, brother. I love that. So one thing I want to talk about is this topic that we were talking about before as well, is around how plans can suck, right? Some people can be overthinking in their next mission in life when they're building a new company, or if they're trying to get to that next executive role, or learning how to be a better executive out of the uniform in their respected new organization. And what's your advice to, an ambitious vet that's in the trenches of life right now, man, that's, kind of that overthinker, has to have the plan right. And, what's the secret sauce from your perspective on that?
I think it has to do with, big rocks. So there's an analogy out there, and I heard this when I was a kid, and I still remember it. And I've seen some different versions of it out there floating around, but basically it was a professor. He's, in class, and he has a bowl, and he has, a bucket of rocks, and he pours those rocks into the bowl, and he asks the class, so can any more rocks fit in there? And they are like, no, absolutely no more rocks can fit in there, because they put a bunch of big rocks in there. And he takes some medium-sized rocks and he pours those into the bowl, and he shakes it around, and those medium-sized rocks go in and they fill in the other gaps. And he's like, okay, so is the bowl full? And they're like, yeah, of course the bowl is full. So then he pulls out some sand and he pours sand in there and shakes it around, and sand goes in between the big rocks and the little rocks. And he says, so is the bowl full? And the class says, yes. And then he takes water and pours water in there, and the water fills in the rest of the space. So the lesson learned there is that as long as you put your big rocks in and you fill your bowl with big rocks, you're able to, your bowl is full. But if you still have time and you still have effort, then you put the medium-sized rocks in there, and then the small rocks, and then the water. So basically the point is, put the big rocks in first, because if you put the sand in first, there's no room for the big rocks. If you put the medium-sized rocks in, there's no room for the big rocks. So put your big rocks, put the things that are most important, and figuring out what those things are is really a lot harder, is a harder lesson. But figure out what your big rocks are. Figure out what the things that are most important to you. If it's for your business, what's most important for your business? If it's for your health, what are the most important things for your health? Because we all have different health requirements. Even though we're all humans, we have different baggage, different damage, different things that are wrong with us. So figure out the things that are wrong with you and the things that you need to focus on, and focus on those. And I'm going to tell you for 100% fact, the one thing that everyone should focus on is sleep. Hands down, because it's the best thing for you, for your brain and for your body. And that should be your number one big rock.
Yeah. Prioritizing your sleep. Yeah. Cause that probably, everything starts from there. Like the stress, the anxiety, all that stuff. Your brain doesn't function at the level that you want. Yeah. Good point with that. So, I remember that analogy in a business seminar I went to around filling that. I remember seeing that being demonstrated on the stage, and that was just an amazing experience. And I think to an ambitious vet that's listening to this, identifying those big rocks are so important. I think sometimes we focus so much on the small pebbles, the water, stuff like that in life, and
I do that's all the time. And I'm
gosh,
like,
me too. Yeah, it's just tough.
It's the easy thing to do, is to focus on those little, like the stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Focus on the big things, the things that's going to move the needle in your life.
Right. And like, how do we do that? Like, is it just trial and error, feedback loop type philosophy where you just take action and kind of look at the input from your output? What is your philosophy on like being able to identify that? Because it's still very conceptual, right? So we want to make sure that, because I know for myself, man, when I go in and every day of my life, I got this Michael Hyatt full focus planner and I got my big three. But at the end of the day, what's my number one priority? Am I driving revenue in the company? Am I having like 2 strategic meetings? It's really identifying what is those most important things that you need based on X, right? So like, is it like values? What do you think on that?
A lot of times it's the thing that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's generally the thing that is the thing that you should focus on. The thing that scares you, the thing that's hard, that's generally the thing that's the needle mover. And those are the things that people don't do because they're hard.
Yeah.
And again, that's kind of conceptual and it's not very specific, but in my life, in my business, it's absolutely hard. I hate making videos. I hate making content, but after I do it, I'm like, and then I see the return from it. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was, and then I have to force myself to do it again. So
no, I love that. Thanks for making it real in your life, because I think I can agree with the ambitious vet that's listening to this right now. You're great at content. You're great at speaking, and you're very good at articulating your words, brother, in a way that has people get it. So that's really good stuff. So I want to kind of move into a new topic around just what is Naked Warrior? I know that, the speaker sheet that you sent to me ahead of time and stuff like that, it's like the Naked Warrior mentality. And I really want to buy into that, man, because I'm already bought into your products. My wife already, for my birthday next month, is actually purchasing the gummies again. So brother, you got us addicted to it. I want to know the philosophy behind this brand. What is Get Naked Warrior?
So the Naked Warrior is the predecessor to today's Navy SEAL. So if you think about like World War II, if you think about the movie Saving Private Ryan, that first scene, that's about 20 minutes of just epic combat. Prior to that assault on Normandy, the Navy went out. The Navy knew that beach was like impassable. They needed to bring some people in to figure out what was in the water, what kind of obstacles were in the water, and to clear obstacles on the beach. So they found these guys in the Navy that were pretty good at demo. They had them go into the beach, do some reconnaissance of the beach, figure out where all the obstacles were, what would be good lanes for assault, where the obstacles were so that they could blow those lanes of assault. Then they got back in the water and they're taking fire from the beach. And they're just like really wearing like, some swim trunks, a K-bar knife, and a thing around their neck to take notes on. And they got back out in the water and they measured the depth of the water with a rock and a piece of string with knots every 6 feet, because 6 feet is a fathom. So they would measure how deep the water was. They would, kind of spread out in the water, measure, mark, dive down, swim about 25 yards underwater. If they found an obstacle underwater, they'd mark it on their slate, and then they would do it again. And they would do 3,000 to 5,000 yards of beach a night. And then they would go back to the ship. They would build a chart, and they built the chart that they built off the reconnaissance that they did was what they used for the planning for Normandy. And then hours before the assault, before that Saving Private Ryan moment of like 20 minutes or hours of combat crossing the beach, these guys went back in, put demo charges on obstacles on the beach, put demo charges on obstacles in the water, and as the assault force is coming in, they blew it. So that was the original underwater demolition team. And then they decommissioned that team, and then they started doing this island campaign in the Pacific where Marines would like hit these barrier reefs and they would run off thinking they're in 3 feet of water, and then they would drown in 30 feet of water on the other side because they're wearing like 60 pounds of gear. Wow. So they recommissioned these guys. They went in, they cleared more lanes of assault. And in 1962, JFK turned the underwater demolition teams into U.S. Navy SEALs. There was a lot of other stuff that happened in the background, but the Naked Warrior is the predecessor to today's Navy SEAL. Just a really quick history lesson for you. But wow. Naked Warrior Recovery is we're a CBD company, and really I suffered a lot. I had a lot of baggage when I got out of the military. When I didn't know what my why was, I didn't know what my purpose was, because I like to say that retiring from the military is the hardest military mission I've ever been on, and I'm still on it today, because I had a team, I had a purpose, I had a mission, and when I got out, I didn't have any of that. Like, it was instantly gone. I didn't have an income when I got out, so I was carrying around a lot of baggage, and tons of veterans. Most veterans, we get out and we carry around a lot of baggage. And, maybe it's from a toxic relationship, maybe it's from stuff that we've done overseas, maybe it's from whatever, fill in the blank. And we feel like we're always assaulted. So in the military, we put on our armor to go into harm's way. And when we're done, we come back, we take the armor off, we take our ego off, we put it up, put it away. But in real life, we don't do that. We keep that crap on all the time, and we never have an opportunity to recover. So the get naked mindset is about taking your ego off, take all this baggage off that people put on, like other people put on you, and that you don't deserve, but you carry it around anyway. And so the get naked, be a naked warrior is take that ego off, take that baggage off, so you can heal and recover and just be vulnerable for a little bit in order to find that healing that you need. Yeah. The other side of get naked, I'll go into in a minute. I'll let you go from there, and then I'll hit maybe the last part of the naked warrior mindset in just a second.
Oh, great. No, I think I said get naked before because I saw your shirt in front of me, but It is the Naked Warrior Ambitious Vet. So no, what I was going to say in that is, like, one thing I love about the products that you sent to us, and just from talking to you a couple of times now, is that this CBD products that you've been able to launch, it's more of a holistic approach versus having to go to therapy and feeling like something's wrong with you, man. I think we talked about that before. Like, I remember going through 6 months of cognitive behavioral therapy that just had me feel like I was broken, and then I had to carry that baggage, to your point, right? I had to be like, oh my gosh, I have to carry this label of depression along the rest of my life, and I have to go fill out a thought record, and just all this stuff, all this shit, right?
That's why I don't call it PTSD or anything like that. I just call it baggage, because people just fill up these bags that we carry around with their crap. We fill it with our own crap, and so I just call it baggage because it's a lot of stuff in there. Right. And you have to like take those bags off and shove them in the corner, and you can unpack them when they're not on your body or on your mind or on your soul or whatever. And, I mean, I was using alcohol as my medicine of choice, and some other pharmaceuticals as my medicine of choice. And just to kind of cover things up. And, also kind of going back to 212 degrees, as water boils at 212 degrees. And I feel like I was living at like 210 degrees once upon a time, where it didn't take much for me to like hit that 212 degree mark. And so when I started taking CBD as a modality, it was very, I didn't notice a lot in the beginning, but what I noticed over time is I went from like 210 to 208 to 200 to 190. And then like maybe I ran out of CBD, and I was like, I just noticed that it took longer for me to hit that boiling point. And so, and some pains in my body got less bad. They were like less sharp. And then, I ran out and I noticed things getting worse. So I tried a different brand, and then things got a little bit better. And then I had an opportunity to start my own CBD company. And I thought about like, why am I doing this? It's helping me. So why don't I help other veterans? And I had to kind of go through my own process of like, what am I doing to get better? Like the CBD is just a modality. It's not the answer, but it's definitely a huge modality that's giving me less stress. It's giving me less pain. And I'm not waking up still hammered or hungover the next day. Right. Because I was using alcohol. And so CBD was a modality that helped me get there. It's not a magic pill, but it definitely is hugely helpful. At least it was for me, and I found it to be very helpful for other people. That's great.
I love how you went back to the 210 degree metaphor as well, right? Because a lot of us, we want to stay calm in the midst of maybe boiling and moving to the next level of anger, right? Which I think a lot of veterans, specifically ambitious vets that are trying to reach that next level of life, right? May get frustrated with themselves or get angry with other people that things aren't moving quicker than they necessarily would want them to. And it's important to stay that 210 degrees, right? So like last question I have to challenge what you've been able to create is like, what about the skeptics? Because the veteran audience, as you know, is very skeptical, right? So what about those veterans, man, that are just like, well, I want to self-manage my thoughts. I want to master my mind. And, I want to do therapy because I've gone through that long path as well, which, I think I've gotten to a point where I've done a pretty good job of self-management, gained some self-awareness and stuff like that. But what would you say to the skeptic that's just like, I still don't want to have like a crutch on having me, I want to be able to feel my emotions, have my thoughts, and be able to think my way through things versus lean on CBD. What would you say to that skeptic?
I would say that I would still try CBD. You can totally just try it. It's a modality. It's not a magic pill. You're not going to see like rainbows and unicorns and things like that. Life isn't just going to instantly be better. It's not magic. I get on PubMed a lot and I look at the studies on there because I'm still like, it doesn't really work. And it does. It absolutely does. It works, scientifically, it's been proven to work. And just personally, it's been proving to work. And, going back to kind of like business, I'm not a salesperson. I never learned about sales. I don't like sales. I can't sell something that I don't believe in. And I absolutely 100% believe it. And I get more feedback every day from different customers. They're like, oh my God, my life has changed because of your product. And, maybe it's not my product that works for you. Maybe it's someone else's product. But I would say definitely be aware of, like, we could do a whole other podcast on the CBD industry and how dirty it is. But if you are to try someone else's product, make sure that you can see every lab result for every lot of the CBD that they use or that they sell. Because, on every product that I sell, there's a QR code. You can go to the website of the QR code and see the actual lab results, because CBD comes from hemp, is a bioaccumulator. That means it pulls all the good stuff out of the soil and all the bad stuff out of the soil. And so it's such a powerful bioaccumulator that they're using hemp at Chernobyl to clean the radiation out of the soil. So be very careful about what products you get. The FDA has gone out and done a bunch of spot checks, and they found that 70% of the companies, 75% of the companies don't even have CBD in their product, or don't have the CBD they say, or have high levels of toxins and mold and heavy metal and arsenic and lead and solvents and a bunch of crap. So be careful about what you get. There's some really good companies out there, and there's a lot of dirty companies out there. So just be aware of what you have. And I guess sort of I'll go back over to you. I had one more thing I wanted to say, but
go ahead.
It was a little bit changing the subject. But kind of just going back to mindset, and talking about, like, I had a hard time admitting failure or weakness, or I need help, or there was enough people, enough information out there in the world where I was like, okay, I will try CBD. I think maybe it'll help. But again, I didn't see like rainbows and unicorns when I tried it. I just noticed that line of hitting that boiling point was just, it took me longer to get there. And so, now it takes me quite a bit longer to get there, like a long time to get there. It takes a lot. I can still get there, but we all can, right? With no baggage. But I came up with a sort of a mindset, and that's what Get Naked is. So Get Naked is about taking action. So Get is action. The naked part is, the N stands for never quit. And I don't mean don't quit smoking or drinking or bad habits or porn or whatever. I mean, never quit. If you have a goal, like, never quit on that goal, like, continue, chop it up into small bite-sized pieces, get small victories. When we went to SEER school, they were like, okay, small victories. If the guy says, don't look left, what you do is you actually look left, so that you just won. So you chop however unattainable that goal is up into little bitty pieces. In SEAL training, some guys go from like meal to meal. Okay, I'll quit after lunch. Oh, well, maybe I'll quit after dinner. Maybe I'll quit tomorrow. And they just got their way all the way through like Hell Week or whatever it was, through like the hard times. So take that like unattainable goal and chop it up. So never quit. The A is accept failure, because failure is the foundation of success. Failure is a good thing. Failure is like, I can't tell you how much more I have ever learned than what I've learned through failure, whether it was on a combat dive, if it was on a mission, if it was, doing something in training. Hopefully you do most of your failure during training. And then, you train like you fight, put yourself in a harder scenario for training than you do in real life. So accept failure. I mean, Thomas Edison, he discovered 10,000 ways to not create the incandescent light bulb. Right. Elon Musk was fired from his first company. So was Steve Jobs, was fired from Apple. So these are, examples of failure, and they came back stronger and better. They created a foundation of failure. So accept failure. The K is for kill mediocrity. There's so much feeling sorry for ourselves nowadays. And I certainly am absolutely guilty. I certainly feel sorry for myself. I say I'm not a victim. I've played the victim mindset my very own self, and admittedly I think we all have at some point, right? And that's just us being mediocre and being a little bitch. And I don't mean to use profanity, but it's true. So what we have to do is we have to kill that mediocrity, kill that like feeling sorry for yourself, kill like, I don't feel like doing it. Just get up and do it. And you know what? It's kind of hard. I don't know if I can. Don't quit. Accept failure and kill that mediocrity. The E is expose your fears. And I think we all, and I talked about earlier, I had to become brave enough to ask for help. I had to become brave enough to be humble, because I had this fear of failure. I had this fear of looking weak. I had this fear of not looking like a strong leader. And, once I figured that out, I looked back in there. I had fear of my kids not liking me. I had fear of how other people perceived me. And once I was able to, and it's not an easy thing. It's very easy to say, it's very difficult to do. And that's why a lot of my shirts say, get naked. It's that simple. It's not simple. There's nothing simple about it. But, starting the way that we, going back to the way that we started was naked. And, you didn't have fear as a baby. You didn't have fear as a child. They were silly fears. And so once you're able to like reach back into those fears that are deep back in the back of your brain that you don't even want to look, pull those things out and write them down. I'm not saying you have to talk to anyone or anything else, but it's a good idea talk to someone you trust. You don't have to have a therapist or anything like that. But right, like when you have stuff that's just like churning in your brain and you don't know how to turn it off, write it down. And it's bugging you, write it down. Because a friend of mine, actually a business coach of mine, Sharon Srivatsa, says fear does not exist on paper. And if you can take that fear and you can write it down with a pen or pencil and a piece of paper, not on a keyboard, there's something that happens neurologically from your brain to your hand. Like now you've exposed it, and now you're able to control the fear. Like the fear can no longer control you if you expose it. And the D is to do the work. So my message always at the end of the day is to get naked. And that's the essence of the naked warrior.
That's so awesome.
Take that ego off and get naked.
No, because before I thought it was physically go get naked, right?
You can totally do that.
Hell yeah, man. That's vulnerable in another physical way.
That's
right?
100% vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. Brother, I love that message. Thanks for breaking that down, because I did not know that before. And I think it's important for this ambitious vet that's listening right now, even for myself, to know like the company that I'm going to probably consistently be a consumer on moving forward. And, definitely talking to other veterans in my network and people in my life to go and buy into that philosophy, because, in my humble opinion too, is it's not easy to embrace fears. And I can really see that even whenever I'm, putting a couple drops of tincture in my whiskey at night, and I'm doing like some nightly journal before I settle down and chill with my wife, right? It puts me in a place where I can communicate more effectively with her in a more vulnerable way, stuff like that, and calms me in the chaos of building this ambitious vet network brand, a startup, right? So just really good stuff.
By the way.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. But it's people like you coming onto the show that's making that happen. So, brother, you've been a golden grenade launcher. I know I say this almost every episode, man, but you're really spitting out some really quality wisdom bombs I think is going to accelerate a lot of ambitious vets where they are to where they want to go in life. But what would be one last wisdom bomb that you would bring to an ambitious vet that's been out for a few years now, is maybe career stability, career stable, but it's just lacking that satisfaction, that sense of purpose, and potentially just that fulfillment, man? What would be that one last golden grenade you provide that vet?
I would say, do not live your life with regrets. I have a lot of things that I wish I did. And you have an opportunity right now to take a chance, and it can be risky, but you will never know. You could fail, but that's part of getting naked. Don't quit, accept those failures, kill your mediocrity by just don't live with regret, and expose that fear, because you're accept the fact that you're afraid of it and then go attack it.
Right.
So don't live with the regret. And until I really did the work, and it's work. It's like none of this is easy. And I think maybe the last kind of golden grenade that and this comes from many times failing, and also doing this, where I learned that you don't ever do this. Always never stop trying to achieve the next level of whatever it is in your life. I remember graduating from Buds, and I'm like, okay, all the hard work is done now. I was wrong. Like Buds was actually fun. Buds it's hard work, but it's not the work that you're going to achieve. It's not like, once I got to the SEAL team, if I was lazy at all, I got my ass handed to me. As I grew in leadership roles, I'm like, okay, well, anytime I was ever like, I got this, and I was comfortable, failure smacked me right in the face. So as soon as I stopped trying to get better, failure hit me. So I would say, and this is the lesson that I've learned over 26 years of failure and a few successes, is never stop trying to get better at whatever it is. If it's working out, if it's building a business, if it's having an awesome family, if it's whatever relationship you're in, never stop trying to achieve greatness. Never stop, never peak, I guess is the easy way to say that.
No, I love that. Always finding that next level, because I feel like even in the military, when we would conform, they would teach us, if you conform, you're dying wherever you're at. So you've got to either keep yourself alive by figuring out what's the next thing to keep you moving forward or accomplishing your mission today, or you can sit there and conform and just have your dreams die. It's your choice, ambitious vet.
It's complacency, and which equals mediocrity. You can achieve like the greatest thing in the world, but if you don't keep going to that next peak, that next point, you're mediocre, you're complacent, and you will fail, and you will fall behind in your life. Your relationships will suffer, your business will suffer, your job will suffer, everything will suffer when you become complacent.
Well, I got my marching orders. That was freaking awesome, brother. Well, where can Ambitious Vet go find out more about Naked Warrior Recovery CBD products, and then we'll say goodbye?
I would say go to www.nw-recovery.com, which stands for Naked Warrior. I just didn't know if people wanted to write naked into their search engine, but you can also do nakedwarriorrecovery.com, all one word. They both take you to the same place, whichever is easier to remember.
Awesome. Ambitious Vet, that will be in the show notes below. Ambitious Vet, go out and make sure that you go and you just buy one sample. Try these products. I have been on them probably for about a month now since William and his team sent them out to us. And I think my wife's thankful that I am taking them right now. So definitely go check it out. William, thanks for your time, brother. And is there any other last words that you'd love to leave an Ambitious Vet right now?
I'm just going to say, go out there and get naked.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Again, Ambitious Vet, before you go, make sure you go check out 10stepstosuccessbook.com. For only $5, you're getting that, plus a 5x5 goal-setting framework worksheet, the Ambitious Vet Field Guide, and a sniper-focused keynote speech that will help you gain that, sniper focus, looking down the scope inside of that next target in your life, and how to have that tunnel vision despite all these damn distractions that happen every single day. Also, lifetime access to the Ambitious Vet Network Facebook group, regular priced at over $1,300 for only $5. Make sure to go check out 10 Steps to Success book.com. 10 is spelled TEN. You can also find it in the show notes below. Until next time, Ambitious Vet, hold the vision and trust the process.